right, we're back, everybody. So GIF, we've had a good time so far. It's been kind of chalk so far, but it's been fun with memories. You ready to get into that second half and bring those guests back in here?
Yes, I am. I'm very excited for this second half of this episode. There's a lot of surprises in there. We're not going to give anything away. You're going to have to listen to the end to see who comes out on top.
There you go. This is what you've been waiting for. So here we go. We're going to give you part 2 right now. Okay, we're going to the other side of the bracket. We'll try to move the pace along here. But once we get through this first round, it'll go pretty fast anyway. So now, if we're going to pick up the pace, though, we're going to go through the 2 longest albums on here. This is the battle of the double albums. So R.E.M's New Adventures in HiFi was a double album, not a CD, but like it was a double album, 66 minutes long, 14 songs. Wilco was a double album, 76 minutes long, being there. So we have R.E.M versus Wilco. Both of these albums to me have that road sound, that touring Americana, turn it on, listen to your car, and just let it go. Because of that, you know, Gifford, I like things to end, right?
You sure do.
But I love these albums, and the length does not deter me on these albums. It allows you to get immersed in the excellence of these great, great artists. And my scores, when I went through this, my BS scores are off the charts. So this is a 1 seed against a 4 seed, but it ended up being much closer than I anticipated because going back to Wilco brought me back to, I had kind of left it on the shelf for a while. So we'll start with R.E.M, favorite band of all time. Their lead single was Ebo the Letter. A lot of people love that song. To me, that was it's a good song, but I don't love it. And I thought it was a horrible choice for a first single. I think it just bombed the album because it wasn't, if you're an R.E.M fan, you probably like it. But it wasn't going to get a lot of play, and it wasn't going to be a song that like the general people would love. So I think that disappointed me, and I think that caused it, because this is the first album that started to kind of send them on their downward spiral of at least a popularity. I mean, they had been the biggest band in the world up to this point. They had just signed the biggest contract in recording history at this point. But from here on, their sales went down. Be Mine is the song that really stands out to me. It's a love song. It's one of the first real love songs that he wrote, Michael Stipe. The video for Electrolyte was made by Spike Jones, and it's a classic video. It's a great song. This debuted at number 2 on September 28th of 1996. It is their last album with Bill Berry before he left the band. It was recorded mostly on their tour, which was a very tough tour. It was not a big hit, but it has now sold, according to Wikipedia, over 7 million copies, and it's considered by most fans to be one of their best overall albums, and kind of as far as R.E.M goes, kind of a cult favorite. So that's what I got there. I'm going to start with Danica on this one.
Yeah, this one fell flat for me. That's maybe not surprising. I'm not as big of a R.E.M fan as you guys are. I'm more about their hits. And so I couldn't really pull much out of this that I really liked. Sorry.
Wow.
I know that's going to be unpopular.
That's okay.
Nope, this just was not. If I had to rank R.E.M albums, this would be pretty low on my list. Sorry. That's about all I have to say.
You're just shocking me all over the place.
I'm shocking myself sometimes too.
Well, let's go to your husband then next.
Well, you know, Danica with R.E.M is like Danica with football when we were first getting to know each other. She pretended to like them, and then I found out over the years she's not really a fan.
Lies.
I never knew that about R.E.M. I thought she was a big fan.
No, she's a big fan. But this would have been probably like of their first, I don't know, like from Chronic Town and Murmur all the way to this would typically have been like low. But I listened to it, I've probably listened to it 10 times in the last 5 weeks because
oh wow,
it's really grown on me again. And to me, Electrolyte not being the first single is insanity because to me it's one of their best songs. It's a great song. And to start out, Wake Up Bomb is like
banger.
A banger. Undertow is a banger. I do like Ebo the Letter, and Bittersweet Me. Those are the songs that really jumped out at me on this. The first 5 songs really are just awesome. So this has kind of reinvigorated my enjoyment of this album. So I love this album.
Great. All right, Rappy.
So when I restarted listening to this album this week, it brought back a lot of memories, and the main one was, man, this is R.E.M. just trying to sound like R.E.M. It kind of felt like a fake, like almost a cover band of R.E.M. But the more I listened to it, the more I did begin to enjoy it. And I realized a lot of the songs were homages to other big bands of the time. You could hear some U2 influence in there. You could hear some Prince influence in there. And I really began to enjoy it. Because it was so long, I only had a chance to listen to it once, but I'm definitely going to revisit this album because I have a newfound interest in it. And I definitely in 96, I judged it too hard because R.E.M. sounding like R.E.M. is exactly what I wanted. And I was just too much of a music snob to realize it at the time.
Yeah, and that's funny that you guys both say that, because that's exactly what happened, where it did not do very well, and it's over time, it's really grown. Gifford.
Well, you say it didn't do very well, but it's platinum in Canada, US, New Zealand, and the UK.
It took a long time to get there.
But
and I mean, it sold a ton of copies when it first came out because it's R.E.M. And this was their last big, but it really petered out quickly after that, and then it came back again.
Yeah, I remember listening to this album when we did our, huge R.E.M. thing. I think, didn't we do something with our overall?
Well, with Dave, we did it with Here in Front.
Yeah. So again, Electrolyte, I think, is a great song. Really enjoyed that one. Bittersweet Me as well. But I was going a little bit, when Danica spoke, I was like, that sounds like she's reading some of my notes that I have. Just kind of fell a little flat for me, but that's not to say there aren't good songs on the album.
Well, and it's long.
As well.
And I think we've established that it takes a few listens. And so if you listen to it once or twice, you might not quite, so, and if you give up on it, then that's it. And that's okay. All right. Well, this is up against another double album, Being There by Wilco. So you had the swing movement, but the mid 90s is also huge for, I love the alt country movement. So you had Uncle Tupelo, and they split off. And so Sunvolt came out with Jay Farrar like a year before this. And I loved the Sunvolt album and the song Trace. And then Wilco came out with A.M., which was very much your typical alt country, country vibe. And so I was like, okay, we're going to get more of that here. And then they come out with this long album, and it's not that. It has some of that, but their sound is constantly evolved. And I forget sometimes that the first 4 Wilco albums I love as much. I love them so much. And I really haven't listened to much of anything since then. But when I go back and remember what I listened, I just love them. And so going back to this was great. The songs blend together so well. It's, again, a great road album. The first song, Misunderstood, I love that song so much. And it's a long song with a lot of feedback and noise. It's very, very different from A.M., but I loved it. It was one of those that hooked me immediately. I compare it to a song we're going to talk about by the Counting Crows here in a second. Came out October 29th, 1996. It reached number 73 on the Billboard chart. They didn't have any interest in writing a hit single, but Out of Sight, Out of Mind did chart at number 39 on the modern rock and number 22 on the mainstream rock charts. And being a double album, they were afraid because Jeff Tweedy was afraid that people wouldn't buy it. It actually started as a triple album, but he convinced the record company to sell it for the price of a single album because he was afraid of the reaction, and they lost like $600,000 on the deal they made with the label, but they were satisfied with the choice because that's what they wanted, and Wilco has done just fine for themselves. So it's a great album, and that's why I picked that one. And for 19 songs, I had 14 bangers. Like I texted Craig the night I was listening to this. I'm like, every song is just getting better than the rest. So it was fun. Gifford, we'll start with you.
Again, completely new to Wilco. But I went with a lot of this. There was immersive instrumentals, like the music in it's so good. Like Someday Soon, my note on that is there's some good picking in there. So you got that the feel of the country.
Yeah, it still has some of that country stuff in it. It moves away from it though.
Yeah. But just some good songs. Enjoyed listen. I mean, I didn't get through all 19. But like you say, Out of Sight, Out of Mind is good. You know, just a guy singing with absolute no confidence as far as the lyrics go, and then you know, it turns around with Someday Soon. But that song, I think for me was probably the top song off of it that I listened to. So yeah, I enjoyed Wilco on this. Yeah.
All right, well, let's go then to Danica, who didn't like REM, and see if she liked this one or not.
I'm going to shock you again. I have never considered myself a Wilco fan. Like, I don't even know if I could name 3 songs by name of theirs, but I loved this album.
I am like shocked. I didn't think you'd like it at all, especially with how long it is.
It was such a surprise to me. And actually, I liked disc 2 much more than disc 1. It just got better and better for me. Sunken Treasure, Out of Mind, someone else's song I loved, Kingpin. Yeah. I wrote that had a funky country vibe to it. Yeah, I loved it and was pleasantly surprised because it was kind of new to me.
Can I please suggest that you listen to their next album, Summer Teeth?
Okay.
Because it is my favorite, and it's got this, but it's also very catchy, and it's awesome. If you like this album, please go listen to that.
Okay. I've always been aware of Wilco and know who they are and stuff, but I was really surprised at how much I liked this for not knowing much about them.
I have been shocked about 5 times tonight now. This is amazing.
Amazing.
Let's save Craig and go to Rappy next.
So Wilco is a band that just fell off my radar, and I completely forgot about that. So I really appreciate them being here to hear this album again. Yeah, to bring this, to hear this album again, I really enjoyed it, and it's gonna rate high on my cruising standards. So no, I appreciated hearing again, and it's like, okay, no, I need to get Wilco back on my playlists.
All right, I think we're going to have an interesting vote here. Craig, what did you have to say?
So you mentioned Uncle Tupelo, you mentioned Sunvolt. I started with Uncle Tupelo, and I've always been more of an Uncle Tupelo Sunvolt fan. I had Summer Teeth, I had whatever the one with box full letters on it. AM.
That's AM.
And I've never really dug into this one much, but I really enjoyed it. Much like Danica, I wasn't surprised that I enjoyed it, but I was surprised that I enjoyed it, the entire thing. A couple songs that haven't been mentioned that I really enjoyed. Monday is one of them. Yeah. Someday Soon. Red Eyed and Blue. Those are a few other songs that I enjoyed. And I believe I did text you, Brad, though. And Out of Mind, Out of Sight, it's the Sesame Street song. They ripped off the Sesame Street's theme song. So if you haven't listened to that, Gifford,
get into it.
Well, and there's 2, because so you're talking about, so there's Out of Sight, Out of Mind,
and there's Out of Mind, Out of
album,
Sight,
which is the single, and then there's Out of Mind, Out of Sight, which I think is the Sesame Street sounding one on the second album.
Yeah.
So you got to get the right one. I also want to throw in Dreamer in My Dreams, the last song. That's an awesome, just jam session of a song for a closer. And it's high energy for an album that you'll be kind of up and down. And so, yeah, it was great. All right. I think we know Danica's choice is not REM. Is that true?
That is true, correct.
I am shocked, but it doesn't even make me, I'm happy. It's cool. Gifford, what about you? I can't tell.
I'm going Wilco.
That's what I thought. Okay. Let's go to Craig.
This was really a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, especially because I listened to REM first.
Yep.
I listened to it a couple times, and it was hard, but I did go REM. But I won't be surprised or upset if Wilco is the choice.
It could be the biggest upset. I'm going to wait. I'm going to let Rappy go next.
On my cruising rating, Wilco is coming with me.
That's what I thought. All right. And so even though REM is my favorite band of all time, and even though this album ranks very, very highly for me, I am not upset I gave R.E.M. a 10.6 and I gave Wilco a 10.4. So this was about as close as you could get. So technically I picked R.E.M., but I'm fine with Wilco winning. I love the upset. I watch March Madness for the upsets. So this is our big Cinderella right here. So I'll give it 3-2. I'll give my vote to R.E.M. technically, but I have no sadness about it. All right, that brings us to then Wilco is going to face. We have a battle of the opposites now. Now, this is one that's really special to me, and it's going to be really interesting to hear what you guys have to say. So I have Imperial Teen, their debut album Seasick, and this is against the Cowboy Junkies, who is a big band for, I know, 3 of us here, Lay It Down. And Imperial Teen is a band who I heard the song You're One, and when I mentioned Across the Great Divide earlier, this is the one I was referring. I will listen to this 2 or 3 times in a row every single time I hear it. It's one of my all-time favorite songs. I love this band. I have like 4 or 5 different albums by them. They have so many great songs. Their most memorable one that people might actually know if you've never heard of them, you might know the song Yoo-Hoo, which is played in the movie Jawbreaker and Not Another Teen Movie, GIF.
Yep.
But that's the same band. I love all the songs on here. And what I like is that it's so unique and indie. It's like its own thing, but it's got boy-girl harmony. So it's a mixture. It's 2 guys, 2 girls in this band. And because it's something that I kind of like love on my own, it has a special place for me. It's not, your big hit. But they're a band that's put out tons of stuff after this. This one came out May 7th, 1996. It was recorded in 1 week after they were 6 months together. One of the guys in the band was in, crap, I'm forgetting now. I'll think of it later. Spin magazine ranked it as the 4th best album of the year, so I wasn't alone. It did not reach any charts that I could find, but I swear that the song You're One was on something, and I did find it reached 69 in the UK. So that's the chart. All right. I have banger after banger on this. I was shocked at my score when I got done, even though I love it. Let's ask Rappy first this time.
So I think I'm using this term correctly here. This was my sneaky favorite album.
There you go.
I really enjoyed this. Just the punk sounding of it, just the energy.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's the first time I've heard it. But yeah, this is definitely my sneaky favorite. It got me to the point where I even thought, since you can only get the album off of YouTube, I was going to go to Cheapos to see if I could find it someplace. But the problem is I don't own a CD player anymore.
I was going to say I could bring it and you could rip it from me, but
I don't know how to do that anymore. I
had to put it. Their first 2 albums are not on streaming, but all their other albums are. So I had to put them on iTunes and see if I could figure out how to get on my phone. And eventually I got it. So I have it on my phone, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so I just bought a new car this summer and there's no CD player in it. So I don't know how I would even listen to a CD anymore.
All right. Well, you get bonus points for using the vernacular of Pop Culture Yearbook there, since Pete's not here tonight.
In honor of Pete, we miss him.
Let's go to Danica and see if she surprises me somehow again here.
You're gonna hate me, Brad. So one of the comments that I wrote, and you said it, that I noticed also by Spin that it was listed as the 4th best album of the year. I guess my big question is, how can it be that great if you can't stream it anywhere now? Like, you can't find it except on YouTube. So
well, I don't know what those are weird though. There's other things you can't stream too, and their other music is. So I don't know what the deal is, but it's very disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know. It had such a 90s feel to it. And
it
I
does.
understand it was made in the 90s, but
Nailed it.
To me, it just really is like stuck in the 90s. Like, you would only ever hear this in the 90s. It's not very timeless music, I guess. I just didn't get it. I'm sorry.
I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. I'm hoping that Craig or Gifford will join me and Rappy on this one. Craig.
I don't think I will be. To me, it's kind of like Fountains of Wayne, where I didn't really get it in the 90s. I didn't really get it this time either. I mean, You're One is the song that I wrote down. but again, it just didn't capture my attention. And maybe if it was more accessible,
Well,
like
you
if I
had to
could
put
put
extra
it-
work into it. I'm sure that didn't help the listening either.
if like even if I could get like an album of it and just put it on my turntable and sit and uninterrupted and listen to it, I might. But I don't know. To me, it feels like it would have been a place and time. Like if I heard it and liked it in the '90s, I probably would still love it. But it just never grabbed me.
Okay. All right. Well, Gifford, where do you stand?
Yeah, it didn't really. I mean, again, like you say, you can't find it anywhere. Kudos to Brad giving us where to find it. Just click
I'll
the
find
link
it
and you
for
go
you.
and you go right to
I'm
it.
like the
So
last
that
of the
was
Mohicans. I will
that was
find you.
handy. One of the notes I have here, baby, blaming the baby, sounds like La Bamba a little bit to me. I went back and forth listening to both, and it sounded eerily like that. But I mean, it's okay. There's some. I do like the harmonizing that they have in there, but it just didn't really grab me too much.
All right. Well, I'm not surprised. I was hopeful, but not surprised. This one ranks so high with me. It's so great, and I love how unique it is, and that's why I knew that it would be tricky, because if you don't know the album and if you don't get into it right away, it's definitely its own thing, and so it's going to be hard. So I have a history, and I'm glad Rappy at least enjoyed it, so that's good. All right, well, that is taking on a very opposite type of album, Cowboy Junkies, Lay It Down. So I was a huge Cowboy Junkies fan in the 90s. Guess what? Because of Craig and Danica, they introduced me to their album, what the hell's the name of it now? Black Eyed Man, which is one of my favorite albums of the 90s. So this one was, I love the album artwork. Something about the album artwork, just the four people sitting there in the white. It's just, it's so catchy. And I love the vibe of this album. I was a huge fan of the band. It felt like this album was going to be big and it was going to get them to another level. And it was, I think, their first album with like a bigger label. There was something I read about that. I listened to it a ton my sophomore year of college. It was one I listened to with a girlfriend. We went to see them in concert for the first time at this time, so they were huge. A Common Disaster was a cool first single, unlike R.E.M. They gave you a good rocking first single for a band that has a lot of down, slower songs. It came out February 27th, 1996. I heard that song a ton. It was recorded some in Athens, Georgia. So speaking of R.E.M., it did reach number 55 in the US and was a gold album. It reached number 20 in Canada, which is where they're from. And Common Disaster reached number 20 on the modern rock chart. So the album did chart and do pretty well for them. But again, it's another smaller band, but I know in this group there are fans. So let's start with Danica again. Maybe she didn't like this one, even though I know she did.
No, I am a big Cowboy Junkies fan. And yeah, this album is probably my second favorite album of theirs. Common Disaster, Lonely Sinking Feeling, Angel Mine, Hold On to Me. I just love those, so many of those songs. In fact, I think I wrote down there's only one song on the album that I don't care for, that I would skip.
Which one was it? Do you know?
Musical Key.
That's my skip. It had a skip on it. That song kind of sucks, but
yeah, that's my skip. Their music for me, it just evokes like a feeling in me when I'm listening to it. It's so melancholy. It can make you feel lonely, but it can also make you feel hopeful. I just love them. And I understand. I think that they might be a band that a lot of people might not get, but there is something about them that I do love. And we saw them in concert multiple times. We got to meet Margot one time backstage. So that's probably part of it too, is that we just saw them live and have a connection there. So they are an important band to me.
All right. How about let's go to Gifford next.
All right. Love the lead in this. Again, Cowboy Junkies, not on my radar, but excellent lead vocalist here. Common Disaster, excellent. Hold On to Me sounds like a slower version of Hold My Hand by Hootie and the Blowfish, if you listen to the intro to it. Angel Mine was one that really stood out here. Love the lyrics in this. Just a song about, a woman that isn't perfect, but the guy thinks she is. It's just such a beautiful song in that regard. So
It's a great song.
yeah. So a lot of good stuff off of this one I found. So yeah, that's liked it.
All right, Rappy.
So I'm realizing in my research I missed this album, so I screwed up the homework a little bit.
Uh-oh.
But because Imperial teens are my sneaky favorite, I think
Oh,
you guys know where I'm going with this. So I'll
Okay.
use that as my pass for screwing up the homework.
Were you familiar with the Cowboy Junkies?
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed them. I love their sound; they're fantastic. But yeah, for me, it's Imperial team is beating these guys out. So
Okay. Craig.
So the Cowboy Junkies, I was introduced to them when their first album came out, the Trinity Session, and they did a cool cover of Sweet Jane from the Velvet Underground. Probably one of the best covers, I'd say top 10 covers I've ever heard. And they did a lot of covers on that. They did, and then they had a song called Misguided Angel, which I think is one of their best songs.
Yeah, and Angel Mine was like, I think she said at the concert, it's like a sequel. It's like a
Yep,
two-part,
yep.
which is why it's so good.
Yep. So again, like Gif, I love her voice. I think she's got one of the greatest voices. Just a beautiful voice. The songs that I had that weren't listed yet was one of them was Come Calling His, which is the earlier one, Lay It Down, and Lonely Sinking Feeling. Those were some of my favorites. This is one of my favorite Cowboy Junkies albums too.
Yeah, it's my second one as well, along with Black Eyed Man. I love it. So I'm picking Imperial Teen. I had a whopping 12.1 on my banger scale. I don't care what you
is
say.
that your
I love
highest score yet?
it. No, Semisonic was 12.2.
Okay.
That's how close it was. Rappy, I think you said you're picking it, so I think the other three are going the other way. Is there any debate there?
Nope.
All
No,
right.
I got Cowboy Junkies.
Cowboy Junkies moves on, and that's okay because that's a great album. They're all great. All right, we now move on then to our last bracket, which has the Counting Crows as our number one seed, and we got the Battle of Americana. Counting Crows coming off their classic debut. There's a lot more loud experimental sounds on this album. Starting right off with the lead single, The Wallflowers is their opponent, Bringing Down the Horse. This introduced everybody to Bob Dylan's Kid and that he was a thing. So Counting Crows Recovering the Satellites, I was really excited. I loved the first album. When I heard Angels and Silences on the radio, I thought that was great because it was so upbeat and so rocky, different from the first album, which I thought, I didn't really want more of the same. Catapult is when I mentioned Misunderstood by Wilco, this is the song I compare it to. I love this song irrationally. This song signals the first day of fall to me every year. This album came out October 15th of 1996. And if it's a dark, dreary day and it's the first day of the fall like that, I put this song on and I feel it. I love it. It's perfect. This one it was number one album. It sold over 2 million in the US. It didn't do as well as the debut, but it was still a big hit and I love it. And it has a lot of great songs. Rappy.
I got to say, I tried with this album. I've never been a fan of the Counting Crows.
Oh, there you go.
I don't like them a lot, and I tried listening. I listened to this whole album, and I don't get it. So I don't have much to say about this album.
I was going to say, and I can see that at the same time. So my wife, she's a Counting Crows fan, and we had to drive a lot lately, and we listened to this one in the car. And we had to turn a lot of songs off before they got done because there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of feedback, and his voice, he does a lot of stuff with his voice, which to me, it works. But I usually am annoyed, and I can see how I would turn a song off before I would get that far because I could just feel her. Like she doesn't like that stuff. And it happened a lot. And she's like, God, I usually love the Counting Crows, but I'm just not into this right now. So you and her are the same there, and I'm not surprised. It's definitely a different sound and an acquired taste, but it works for me. Gifford.
I wrote down depressed much, and is this guy okay? listening to these songs on here. Of course, Along December, I love that song. I think it's great. But some of these other ones just were, it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for as far as the overall sound.
See, that surprises me though, because I feel like the first one's much more depressing and somber.
Yeah, and maybe I'm relating it more to the time that I was in when, with the debut album. That, a lot of those songs I absolutely love. So I don't know. I think I'm equating it to more social experiences, and this wasn't one that I listened to.
All right, Craig.
So I think I'm a Counting Crows hits fan. I'm not necessarily a deep tracks fan. Two songs that there was two songs other than Long December that I wrote down. I'm Not Sleeping is one, and then Mercury was the other that did hit me. But yeah, I like some of their hits, but I never got into the deep tracks. I listened to the whole thing, but not a lot.
Danica.
I got to concur with Kim 100% on this, Brad. And it shocked me. I am a Counting Crows fan. And
well,
I
yeah,
thought,
see?
oh, great. I know. And I thought, great. I haven't listened to this album for so long. I'm going to really enjoy this. And I did not enjoy it at all. I skipped songs too before the end because I wrote down several times screaming.
Yeah.
It was just, some of it was just too screamy for me. Probably, I liked I'm Not Sleeping. And then, of course, Long December. But other than that, I did not enjoy a re-listen of this at all. And that's
what about? Did nobody like Daylight Fading or Monkey?
I did note that Daylight Fading did stick out to me a little bit.
Sounded a little like a country song, so I did kind of like that one a little bit more.
Okay. So well, there you go. You rediscover things that you didn't remember. All right, so the Wallflowers is our opponent. I thought this was such a big deal. It was Bob Dylan's kid because I didn't know he existed, and all of a sudden he's out there. And I think I remember he had these eyes, and the girls really loved him. Danica, is that true?
No, not for me.
Oh, okay. Then I'm not sure. I might have had a different opinion or memory of that. The catchy first singles were huge. It kind of blew onto the scene. The first 5 songs of this album, I think, are great. And then the rest is good, but it doesn't sustain that high level. But it starts off great. It came out May 21st, 1996. It reached number 4 on the Billboard charts, number 7 for the year end of 1997, number 86 for the decade end. So it had a long life. 4 times platinum. A crossover here is Adam Duritz. Does not scream, but he sings backing vocals on 6th Avenue Heartache. And then One Headlight was just such a massive song. It topped so many charts and so many places, and it won 2 Grammys. So great album, especially the beginning, first half. That's what I think. What say you, Danica? We'll start with you this time. Get that bad taste out of your mouth.
Well, so I surprised myself on this one because I actually got to hate One Headlight because that song was so overplayed. I just really, for a while, I just couldn't stand the Wallflowers. So I fully went into this expecting I was not going to like it. And then I was like, oh, now that I've been away from it for so many years, I liked it. I liked it much better than the Counting Crows one. I really liked 6th Avenue and Three Marlenas. I liked the flavor of the organ that was playing through a lot of the songs for uniqueness. I was pleasantly surprised on a re-listen of this one.
All right, Craig.
So yeah, I remember loving this album when it came out. But I haven't listened to it in a long time because I've heard One Headlight and 6th Avenue Heartache about 70,000 times, and I just didn't want to hear it again. But I've always thought Three Marlenas is maybe the best song on the album.
Yeah.
And then the Difference is a great song. Laughing Out Loud and God Don't Make Lonely Girls are 2 other songs that stood out to me. So it was fun to listen to it again because I haven't listened to it in probably 20 years minimum. So I enjoyed going back to it and listening to it again.
Rappy.
This is one of the albums that would like every so often interrupt my cassette playlist while I was working at the Metal Factory. So I've listened to this album a ton, and I really enjoy it. And When I'm in a Heartbeat, fantastic song. I will definitely listen to that anytime.
GIF.
I'm going back to Sheryl Crow on this one. Again, ton of hits on this one. Like the difference, that singable chorus. I mean, come on, that's just you just go right into it. Three Marlena's awesome. One Headlight, again, like you said, huge. Still, when I hear it today, I enjoy listening to that song. I absolutely love it. Just crank it every time. It's notable for being the first single ever to reach #1 on all 3 Billboard Rock Airplay charts, the modern rock chart, and AAA and mainstream rock songs. So just a massive song. So yeah, I enjoyed listening through this album.
All right. I don't think we have a lot of, we got our second big upset, although the way it was described, it's not an upset at all. Just the seating. I guess we had a misseating here. I'm going to give my vote to the Counting Crows. I think I'm the only one. I like them both. I feel like I like everything on the Wallflowers after the first 5 songs, but they're just all good. As crazy as Recovering the Satellites is, and I get it, it works for me, which kind of surprises me. So I gave that a 9.4 on my scale, and I gave Wallflowers a 7.5. So I'm giving Counting Crows the vote, but is anybody with me?
No.
No. Okay. So 4-1 Wallflowers. We have 2 number 4 seeds into the Elite 8 on this side. Busted bracket. Okay, we have a final first round matchup. Another battle of total opposites here. This will be another one I'm curious to see what people have to say. So we have the band with one of the biggest songs of the whole year, the Cardigans, who had, of course, the song Love Fool. And then we have Lyle Lovett, which is an album that I received through Craig and hadn't listened to forever. But I went back and listened to him like, holy crap. Now I remember why I listened to this over and over again. It's so good. So I love both of these majorly, but for 2 totally different reasons. So Love Fool, I'm sure half of you are probably going to say you hate the song, you're sick of it, whatever. I think it's one of the catchiest, most awesome one. They're not a one-hit wonder to me, but one of the greatest songs of the 90s. I don't get sick of it. The video's great. She's great. I love this band. That song, though, doesn't define them. I think they're much more unique. They're much different than that. I love this album. I listen to it regularly still. It's very sugary, but it's also very dark. The vocals and the lyrics together I love, and it's a band that is known for one song, but deserves way better than that, in my opinion. Released September 6, 1996, reached number 35 on the Billboard chart, year-end 137. Love Fool, of course, was #1 on like everything. It is a platinum album that sold 1 million copies. The second single, which I remember well because MTV played it a lot, was Ben It, which reached number 56 in the UK. And their next album was great too. I love the Cardigans. And so, Danica, tell me why you hate them. Or are you going to surprise me?
I was surprised again how much I hated this. I did not expect to hate this album. I like Love Fool. When I was listening to it, I jotted down some things that said that I got annoyed. It was a little whiny. And then the interesting thing is, on Spotify, you can go in and like read information about the band. And here is a quote from the Spotify information about the band. It said that their music could become annoying if not backed by musicianship and clever arrangements. And I'm like, well, you hit annoying right on the head, because I guess I did not appreciate the musicianship and clever arrangements because I was very annoyed. I did not like this album. Sorry.
I love her voice. I love the lyrics. I love it. Craig.
So I would actually say Love Fool. I never got sick of it. I really like that song.
Oh,
And Ben It was another song I wrote down. I didn't realize it was charted ever. Your New Cuckoo. I had to double check that I hadn't clicked and accidentally hit an ABBA song, because I was to me it sounded like ABBA.
They are Swedish.
And then I really like the song Never Recover, but then I would say some of the other songs kind of hit the annoying button for me. So this album was all over for me. but I would probably say it's on the lower end of, the 1 to 10 scale. It's probably more towards like 5.
Okay. Gif.
Very fun album.
Oh,
Again,
thank you.
Not sick of Love Fool at all. Bennett is just a fun song. Never Recover, more of an upbeat. Heartbreaker, another just fun. Like I enjoyed listening to the album. So yeah, it was a good one. Glad it's on here.
And Rappy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one too, and it really, again, kind of put a name and an album together. I recognized the songs, never realized who they were from, and I really enjoyed the album. I did like how it flowed. Everything kind of meshed together for me, and I really enjoyed it, and it was just fun to be able to hear and feel. There was a couple I recognized on there. It's like, oh, this is them. So no, I enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad we started with Danica on that one. I love the song Happy Meal. I think that just the lyrics to that and the whole way that sets up is great. And did you notice that Iron Man is the Black Sabbath Iron Man, but it sounds nothing.
I didn't enjoy it.
You didn't like it? Okay, I was wondering because it's so different.
I thought that was a fantastic cover. I enjoyed it.
All right, so we're kind of split on that one. And our final album is Lyle Lovett, The Road to Ensenada. And like I said, I got this from Craig. I always thought of Lyle Lovett as kind of a joke at this time. He was that tall, ugly guy that nobody could believe Julia Roberts married. It's like, who is this guy? But I love the movie The Player with Tim Robbins, the Robert Altman movie, and Lyle Lovett was in that. I really didn't know hardly anything about his music. So when I listened to this, I didn't know what I was getting into, but I loved it right away. His voice is so smooth. And there's so many pretty songs and fun lyrics. Randy Newman is on here, which you're always going to associate with fun. This is the kind of country, newer country that I like. And it's got tons of bangers on it to me. And June 18th, 1996, it came out. It did win the Grammy for Best Country Album. So critics got that one right. It reached number 24 on Billboard Hot 100 and number 4 for country albums. I could not find any album sales for some reason, but I did find that he has sold over 4 million albums overall. I don't know why you can't find any numbers on this album. It's weird. So I love this album. Don't Touch My Hat right off the bat. It's just a great opener. Fiona's beautiful. There's so many good songs. And so anyway, I will turn it over to, let's go with Danica again.
I love this album. I forgot how much I love this album. We saw him in concert that year, and I things I wrote down like "Don't Touch My Hat" is just such a toe tapper, and then Her First Mistake is such a good story song, and when he uses the lyric "Come on, baby" to like segue in between each part of the story, and I just thought they were all so great. Private Conversation is such a good one. It's got the fiddle in it. And so many of them are kind of funny or stories, but then the Promises song was more kind of a serious, like heart-tugging song. So I just thought he really showed a lot of different depth and varied of what he can do on this. And I just loved listening to this again.
Okay, Rappy.
So this was probably my height of hating and despising country music. One spring break when I was in college, we went out to Wyoming to climb Devil's Tower. And in the evening, we were in a cowboy bar and started requesting rock and roll music. And we almost got beat up by a bunch of cowboys. And so I just have a prejudice towards country of any style. I'm getting over it. I'm trying to be a better or less of a music snob, but in 96 I never even would have listened to this album or come close to it because I was still angry at those cowboys in Wyoming.
All right, Gifford, Craig didn't go yet.
Like Mr. Rappy, I'm not a country music fan. I love this record. I love it. But this might be my favorite record of the 16 on here.
wow.
Danica mentioned we saw him. We were at Northrop in the second row in the orchestra pit, and it was phenomenal. He had his whole band, and I just kept zeroing in on each of the different musicians, and they were so fun to watch. And Lyle Lovett is much like Chris Isaak, just dry, funnier than hell. His little stories in between songs are just fascinating and funny. But this album, I haven't listened to it in a long time. I have probably listened to it 20 times in the last couple weeks. And actually the song, That's Right, You're Not From Texas, is probably my favorite song right now. It's like a jazzy country, and it's just such a great song. And then It Ought to Be Easier, I Can't Love You Anymore, and Road to Ensenada are on the mellower side, but those are great songs.
They are. They're beautiful. And his voice is just so, from such an ugly guy, his voice is so beautiful. Gifford.
He's sorry. In the concert, he made a lot of jokes about his appearance, and
there you go.
Very funny. And I think he might even mention Julia Roberts, but he was very self-deprecating and it was very funny.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. First off, I want to hear about Rappy climbing Devil's Tower. I was there a couple summers ago, and we were looking at that thing, and I don't know how you do that. But I don't know if two Brians can be any different on a single subject. Craig, also, you forgot to mention this would be your sneaky favorite, I'm thinking, out of the whole 16.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this. I like that you threw a country album in there. Don't Touch My Hat, to me, is the essence of a country song. Like, this guy's willing to give up his girl. Just don't mess with my hat. This Cowboys Hat from Chris Ledoux is another great example of that. If you've never heard that song, please go back and listen to that. Private Conversation, beautiful song. I've heard that one, many times before listening to this album. Glad you mentioned, That's Right. That's just such a fun song. So yeah, I really enjoyed listening to this as well.
All right, so I think it's going to be 3-2 Lyle Lovett. I did have a very close one here. I did have the Cardigans higher, but it was 9.4 to 8.7. And the only reason why is because I did have one skip on the Lyle Lovett album. So it was about as close as they could get. I think, Rappy, are you with me on the Cardigans?
Yeah, I am.
But the rest of you are going to put Lyle Lovett through, right?
I am. This, to me, was the tightest first round matchup.
That's right. You did say you like the Cardigans a lot.
I mean, yeah, this was a tough one to decide on for me as far as the first round goes. But yes, I am going with Lyle Lovett.
Well, now the pace is going to pick up dramatically on this extra long episode. So we are moving to the Elite Eight. We've talked ad nauseum about every album here. So our first matchup is Semisonic versus Swingers. So we have the number 1 overall seed against one of the best soundtracks of the year, and definitely in the opinion of several of us. So we'll just go right to the voting here, and just when you compare these two against each other, why do you pick what you pick? Let's start with Gifford.
I'm going Swingers. This is the hill I'm going to die on of the 16. This is my album. I just think it's awesome.
And Rappy?
This is a tough one, but I'm gonna have to go with Semisonic just because it's the album format, and I think that beats out the soundtrack format.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering which one you'd pick, but that's good reasoning there about putting one over the other.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Danica?
Yep, I concur with Rappy on that. To me, unless it's some kind of a extra special soundtrack, if you're talking about an album of the year type situation, I got to go with Semisonic over that.
Craig?
Completely agree with Rappy. Said it better than I could. Semisonic for me.
Yeah, and I will make it 4-1. I love the Swingers soundtrack. I'll listen to it anytime, but I mean, Semisonic is my number 1 overall seed, first of all, so obviously it ranked higher. But if you're going to move an album on to win this thing, you can't really have a soundtrack unless it's like an all-time classic. So I'm glad it got a vote from Gifford because it deserves some recognition, but it's out now. Okay, now, see, I didn't see this coming here. So now we have singer-songwriters, Paul Westerberg versus Sheryl Crow. We have a 1 seed against a 3 seed here. Let's start this time with Gifford. No, we started with you last time.
Okay.
Rappy.
I've got to pick Sheryl Crow for this one. The whole album just flows together well. Her voice is incredible, and if she wants to go on a cruise with me, she's more than welcome.
All right, Craig.
Well, if we're talking about going on a cruise with somebody in 1996, that's the different question. But no, I gotta go with Westerberg here.
Danica.
Yep, I'm also going with Westerberg, which surprises me a little bit, but that's because I was just so pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed re-listening to that album. I just feel overall I liked it better than Sheryl Crow.
And Giff.
I'm going with Sheryl. I
Okay.
just liked it better than Paul's album. So yeah.
And you're of course much more familiar with it too.
I am, yes.
All right, I will be the deciding vote here. And I do have to go. I like Paul Westerberg a lot. I'm glad that he won one. That's nice. But Sheryl Crow, it's to me, beginning to end, it's got more big hits. It's got more going on. It's more memorable. It's a bigger album, and it's a bigger album of the time. So we do have 2 number 1 seeds moving on the left side of the bracket, but our 1 seeds on the other side have already been eliminated. So this is going to be more interesting now. So we've got Wilco against the Cowboy Junkies. We got some good kind of alt country Americana type music going on here. Let's start this one. Do you take the big double album by Wilco, or do you take the Cowboy Junkies and the melodious Margot Timmons? Craig.
Well, this is tough. So I had R.E.M. going through against Cowboy Junkies, and I went crazy trying to pick that one. But I'm gonna probably lose on this one. I'm gonna go with the Cowboy Junkies here.
Oh, surprising! Wow. What was the reason for that?
I just am more familiar with it for one. But to me, if I'm gonna go on a cruise and listen to something, I'm probably gonna take the Cowboy Junkies first.
Okay.
Over Wilco.
Let's go to Rappy on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Wilco on this one. Same kind of logic. If I had a CD player in my car, that's a CD I would grab out of those 2 to listen to.
And you get 2 CDs out of the deal.
Yeah, so I can go a long ways.
Gifford.
I'm going Cowboy Junkies.
Okay.
To me, this I don't know if I need to. This was the weakest bracket to me for me personally, but I did have the Cowboy Junkies coming out of this bracket, so that's where I'm going.
See, this was the for me the biggest bracket, the highest scores all the way through. Danica, we have a 2-1 Cowboy Junkie right now. Now you loved Wilco, so where are you going?
I have come to love Wilco more, but my heart's got to stay with the Cowboy Junkies because I do love them more, I believe.
All right, so it's coming down to me again then here, huh? It's 2-2, right?
No, it's 3-1.
3-1.
Oh, it is. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I totally lost count. Okay, well, I'm picking Wilco. I've already, I mean, it was ranked higher. It's got more songs. It's got more good songs. The Cowboy Junkies did have 1 skip, which if it came down to it, that would have been my reasoning to pick it if it was really close. This one is my first kind of disappointment. I feel like Wilco should be moving on, but that's the way it goes. And the Cowboy Junkies is still a great album. So Cowboy Junkies to the final 4.
So you were going against your own ranking.
What do you mean?
You picked Wilco, your 4 pick. I mean,
well, okay. So when I initially seeded them, that
Yeah.
was before I had made my BS scale.
I got you. Okay.
And then if you remember, Wilco ended up almost scoring higher than R.E.M. on my
Mhm.
scale. So that's what I had to do the initial seeding based on memories and feelings.
Gotcha.
And then from there, I went from there. All right, our last Elite 8 round is the Wallflowers versus Lyle Lovett. This is the country side of the bracket all the way here. I'm going to go first on this one. And to me, this is an easy one. I like the Wallflowers a lot, but that Lyle Lovett album, even though I wouldn't have picked it in the previous round, it's a no-brainer to me right now. When I listen to that again, I just couldn't get enough of it. It's so good. His voice is great. The stories are fun. And so that is my pick for that one. Let's go to Gifford.
I'm going Wallflowers. Just more familiar with the album overall. Again, love the Lyle Lovett album. This for me might have been the strongest bracket that we have, but I'm taking the number 4 seed Wallflowers.
All right, and Rappy.
Gotta go Wallflowers. The album just means a lot to me, and again, I will definitely grab it over Lyle Lovett.
That's right, because you didn't even care much for that one. So,
but okay, so just to throw that out there, I do now own a pickup truck, so I may be getting into Lyle Lovett. So
there you go.
You better get a cowboy hat too.
I got a couple of those now too. So.
Excellent.
Danica.
For sure, Lyle Lovett. I mean, like I said, I kind of gained new appreciation for the Wallflowers, but that I just loved re-listening to that Lyle Lovett album. I think end to end, that's just got so many gems on it. That's what we got to go with.
All right, it's 2-2. Craig, you get to make the deciding vote.
It's pretty easy for me. It's got to be the Lyle Lovett. Was your skip Christmas Morning?
No, it was the song Promises, actually, that Danica mentioned. I like Christmas Morning a lot.
Yeah, I like it.
I think Promises is just too boring. That one I just can't take.
Yeah, there's just too many songs that I will listen to until the day I die on the Lyle Lovett record. It's so good.
Yeah, and that's the great. I hadn't listened to it for so long, but now I will listen to it again regularly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're to the final 4, everybody. We got Semisonic versus Sheryl Crow, the number 1 seeds on the left side of the bracket. We got the surprise busted bracket, Cowboy Junkies versus Lyle Lovett on the right side. Rock versus country. So, Semisonic, Sheryl Crow. Where are you going there? Let's start with Rappy.
Gotta go with the hometown favorite, Semisonic.
All right. Let's go to Gifford.
I'm going with Sheryl Crow. She's leaving your car and coming into mine now that you did that.
Everybody gets a turn.
Yep.
All right, Craig.
Well, since Cheryl got out of my car and into Gifford's dreams, I'm going with Semisonic.
And Danica.
Yeah, I got to go Semisonic to end. That's the album I would want to listen to over Sheryl Crow.
Me too. Now, I love the Sheryl Crow album, but I mean, I'm always going to pick Semisonic first. It's a 4-1. Number 1 seed has made it to the championship game. Now, they will face unlikely opponent, Cowboy Junkies or Lyle Lovett. Let's start with Rappy on this one.
Cowboy Junkies move ahead with me.
All right. Let's see. Let's go to Danica.
This is my hardest pick of all.
Yeah, this is gonna be hard for you.
I know. I love them both, but I'm gonna go with Cowboy Junkies just because, like, as a whole, I guess if I'm looking as them as an artist, more familiar, and that's what's gonna bring them over Lyle Lovett, I guess.
Wow. Okay. Surprising. Gifford.
I'm going Lyle Lovett. I'm going to take the winner of, again, what I thought was the strongest bracket against the weaker one. So I just like the country aspect of it. So yeah.
So it's 2-1 Lyle Lovett, right? No, Cowboy Junkies.
No,
It's Cowboy.
2-1 Cowboy Junkies.
Yeah, I said that wrong.
Yeah.
Craig, what is your choice?
Well, I'm going to force a game 5. I'm going with Lyle Lovett. I'm going to take that weird looking dude into my car and we're going for a drive.
There you go.
All right. And shocker of shockers, I'm moving Lyle Lovett into the championship round.
Wow.
I love the Cowboy Junkies, but there is a skip. And there are a couple, like, beginning to end, like, there's a couple songs that I'm not as in love with. And there is a skip on Lyle Lovett too. But if you add the entire thing up, the songs to me are more fun. And it's so close. Like, I love the Cowboy Junkies so much, so I don't want to, like, even hardly compare them. But I am going to take Lyle Lovett. And if I'm looking at my BS scale, where is the Cowboy Junkies on here? I actually had them ranked higher than Lyle Lovett by 0.2 points, but I'm going against my own scale.
That BS scale is BS, I think.
I'm going with my gut feeling, and that's what I'm
Yep.
going with.
Yep.
And it goes to what a lot of you have said. If I'm going to put one in to listen to all the way through, that's the one I want to listen to. That's where the gut comes in. Okay. Championship matchup, Semisonic Minneapolis hometown favorites versus the unlikely Lyle Lovett from Texas. Where are we going here? Let's start with Rappy.
I think you know where I'm going. Got to pick my hometown boys, Semisonic.
All right, let's go to Craig next because he's big on both of these. Let's see where he goes.
I am big on both of these. And if it was 1996, it would be The Great Divide without a doubt. If I'm going to get in my car right now and take one of the two, I'm going to take Lyle with me.
Oh boy, okay, 1-1. Now let's go to Gifford.
I'm going to Cinderella Story. Coming out of the bracket. I haven't picked Semisonic yet in any of the matchups.
No, you've been doing your best to get rid of the number 1 overall seed.
And I'm not doing it, just to be controversial or negative or anything like that. But I'm going to go with Mr. Lovett. I love it.
Okay, 2-1. I'm going to go next, and I'm picking Semisonic. It's my number 1 overall album. As much as I love both, it is the one that I came into this, ranked the highest, and it means so much to me that, like, I've been listening to my whole life. Lyle Lovett, I've rediscovered, but Semisonic I've been listening to for 20, 30 years now. So I'm going to leave this all to my sister to decide the winner. Who gets the crown best 1996 album?
Wow, that is pressure.
You've been disappointing me and surprising me all night. I can't wait to see what happens here.
Well,
I love this ending. This is a great ending.
When I did my own bracket, I actually had Cowboy Junkies going all the way to the end. That was going to be my pick over Semisonic. So now that you pitted Lyle Lovett against Semisonic, I'm going to go with Lyle Lovett.
Oh my God. I don't.
Oh my.
Wow.
A 3 seed comes out of nowhere.
I could not, this album, when I re-listened to it, I was just like, why, where's this been all my life? Why did I ever stop listening to this album? It is so good. So I know Semisonic has a wider catalog that I like, but I got to take Lyle on this one, 1996. I just think it's the one.
See, you just don't see it coming. This is like NC State over Houston in 1983.
It's a long way.
Danica just got the alley-oop and dunked it for the win at the buzzer there. I would have never in my wildest dreams predicted Lyle Lovett would win the album bracket of 1996. Even with this group, that is never even on my radar there.
When I first saw all your albums that you picked, I would not have predicted either that it would go that far. But the re-listen was just amazing to me.
Yeah, I saw it and like, oh yeah, I really like that.
This
And
is
then,
why you
when I
play the
listened to it
game.
again, I'm like, holy cow, this is so good.
That's why they play the games.
Yep.
All right. Well, this was a really long episode. Does anybody want to mention anything else about any albums or 1996 or make any complaints or call shenanigans?
I don't
Now's
think
your
that's
time.
called
Could I
shenanigans.
go into protest? I think soul coughing should have went all the way.
There you go.
Recount.
That's
Yep.
good. They lost in the first round, but you got to bring them back for that final comment there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun because not only was it fun, but it went in no way the way that I expected. So we're going to finish off 1996 next week. Me and Gifford will be back, and we'll have something good cooked up for you there. Anybody have any? You guys don't have podcasts. Anything you want to share or sell?
My OnlyFans page.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, we thank you for being on. I
Yeah,
think
thank
I
you,
picked a great group of people to do this with us. I have probably put listening to the albums probably spent 20 hours. I have probably spent 20 other hours typing documents and making comments and doing research. I put more time into this than I put into anything we've ever done on this show, and more time than I put into my job for the last month. So I
might wanna cut
appreciate you
that.
being on. It was great. I loved it, and we will do it again sometime. Now that maybe it won't take quite as long, but we'll do it again.
This was a blast,
Thanks
and
for
thank you
having
so
me.
much. Yeah,
Thank you.
this was a nice distraction, so it was greatly
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yes, and we are recording this on the night of the election, so we did this as a way to avoid that for a while, and now we can go see what's happening.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
Hey, Gifford,
Hey, what?
who's the greatest Cinderella story there ever was? It's not Lyle Lovett.
I think it might still be Preacher Row.
They are. If we put them in the bracket, they would have won this thing.
I was going to say that's why you didn't put him in the bracket.
That's
It
right.
would have been a runaway.
All right. Thank you guys for being on. That was great. And we'll
Thanks.
see you next week.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Standing on my own till fear. No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your song is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. Hands tied, tell me on my back. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do.